This is the video for Friday, December the 20th, and it was the end of December options expiration. So that could possibly account for the volume. I didn't look at the volume at the close of the market yesterday, and I'm making this video on Saturday morning. But this is incredible volume if it's correct. I am going to, after this video, check with other sources, but this would mean we had double the amount of relative volume in the Dow, pretty much the same in the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. Now, a lot can happen when options traders are rolling up their options. They have to buy or sell positions to balance their books, but that's incredible. I don't remember that on any other options Friday. But what we saw the Dow do was drop at the open and then just continue flat. So we had no events happening really basically in any of the three markets. And if you take a look at the news, what did we see in the news today? Talk about Trump signing the expending bill to avoid a shutdown, although he threatened to not sign it. But then this big defense spending bill, all of these things will push up the market and continue the optimism. So we are in the middle of or at the tail end now of a Santa Claus rally. We're going to look at the charts in a second, but look at what's happened to the McClellan oscillator. It keeps churning right here and not quite going into an overbought situation. So there's still a little bit more upside, and with next week's 2.5 days of trading, and then Friday, Friday being a half a day, there won't be much happening in the market next week. It will be flat, boring, maybe up a little bit on the Monday, but I wouldn't hold out for too much. Let's take a look at the S&P. We had this big jump and a doji candle. That sometimes means a reversal, and that could be what they call an abandoned baby or an orphaned baby. You have this small little doji candle up there, and then it just gets abandoned as the market goes down. Could happen. Keep our eye on it. Let's look at the volume for some other stocks and see if they would be typical of a big volume update. Well, look at Apple. Look at the volume in Apple, and Apple finished up 6 cents. Apple finished up 6 cents, but tremendous volume, and it did not close at a new high, but it did open at a new high. Caterpillar, so Apple is still moving up. Caterpillar finished at the high end of its range, and its volume was also significantly above average. So that lends credence to the fact that the Dow certainly did have pretty darn serious volume. Here's another Dow member, and that's Home Depot, and you see a lot of action there. This is not necessarily institutional buying now, but it probably is the market makers buying and selling stock to balance their options books, and there was a lot of trade rolling, I'm sure. But another higher day for Home Depot, and I'm now comfortable with the position that I have, which is 6 contracts, 3 in January, 3 in March. And if this just continues, I'm going to continue to keep buying vertical calls on Home Depot. The next point of resistance is going to be 22.66. So let's put an alert right there and say when it touches an indicator, this time being the 50 EMA, we're going to get an alert. So that's what we're going to look for. Monday and Tuesday. Good chance that we hit it Monday or Tuesday. So the market saw the 3 days of support at the 200-day simple moving average, and look at the volume on those days. Starting with this one, institutional buying, institutional involvement, probably institutional buying here as well. and that signaled the move up, and that's when we started to get into some Home Depot. Well, actually, we started earlier when we saw the support of the cloud, and we suffered a little bit, but now we're back in the green. AT&T finished off just a remarkable month. Let's look at it on a monthly basis, and you can see it just had a tremendous month. Sorry for the SMIs there, but we're going to need to look at them because the SMI is tailing off in the faster SMI, but it's still moving up in the slower SMI. The 50 moving averages, both of them are moving up. The 8, of course, is moving up. The 200s are moving up. So this just signals good stuff for AT&T. The gap that was created got closed in the same day, so we don't have to worry about that. AT&T will go ex-dividend on January the 9th. It's going to struggle around 40. It didn't quite make it last time. 39.61 was as high as it got, and it pulled back. So we're going to take a look, and we're going to set an alarm or alert for that value. When it touches that, that's going to signify a return to that high. WDC, big day for WDC, big day. Almost closing the gap. This is an amazing rebound. Look at this. Shame that we weren't in it, but we're doing Apple and Home Depot and trying to conserve profits that we got this year, and we weren't taking any risk. But when it came back, it didn't come back. It just took off above this gap and is now in the process of closing this gap. So we're going to see some selling here at the top of that gap, and let's look at a pullback there and look for another point of test, and maybe there's an opportunity to get into it again. So let's look at the cloud, and we've got a clear, strong break of the cloud. On the weekly basis, we're in the cloud. But it looks like this is going to be a stock to keep an eye on. Whirlpool is the other one, and it had a very strong day, and I'll bet you anything it had significant volume. It did. Let's take a look at WDC's volume. Also another strong volume day, so those FinViz numbers for volume were right on. Shopify finished up just 3 cents. 178.6% was the resistance. If it comes down and bounces off of 161.8%, that'll be an opportunity. The volume in Shopify was low. And remember, both the SMIs are turning down. So this is not good for a short term. We might see the slower moving ones start to plateau out. And let's just keep an eye on it. And there might be a short-term opportunity, but it would be very short because the new cycle is starting for Shopify. So I'm not anxious about that one. And Amazon, despite all of the good stuff people are saying about the Christmas spending, very strong volume and down a little bit. 10 cents in the after hours, but it just ended up lower in trading on Friday. So that's it. Where are we going? It's Christmas week. Let's watch this. Are we looking at an abandoned baby candle? We have a gap that needs to be dealt with. We have three other gaps that have to be dealt with, and it's unusual for the S&P to leave that many gaps behind. So let's just keep an eye. We're nearing the end of the year. There will be a lot of selling this week for people who want to take advantage of losses and declare those losses against some of their gains. So a lot of next week's activity is going to be people settling their finances and settling their trading ledger for tax purposes.